What's up, Raiders? Just want to come here with a video to both review briefly things that we've covered in previous videos about Soh Cah Toa and what that really means, and how we can also use your smartphone to calculate inverse trig functions. So remember, with the phrase Soh Cah Toa, it's just a shortcut way of remembering what combination of side lengths you deal with when you're doing sine, cosine, or tangent. So let's just take a look at a sample triangle, a right triangle. And let's say we're dealing with this unknown angle A here. Well, relative to this angle, this side furthest away is what we would call the opposite side. And then at this point, you have two side lengths that are physically next to or even part of the angle. So in that sense, they're both adjacent, but in sort of the geometry world, the leg that is physically next to the angle, that's the side we call adjacent. And then the other side that is physically adjacent or next to the angle, because it's the hypotenuse, we just refer to it as the hypotenuse. So again, sine is just a shortcut way of saying, okay, relative to whatever angle you're focusing on, in this case angle A, take the length of the opposite side and then divide it by the length of the hypotenuse. That's the so part of Soh Cah Toa. Cosine is the ratio of the adjacent side length divided by the hypotenuse length. So compared to angle A, you take this adjacent side length divided by the hypotenuse. And then finally, tangent is the ratio of the opposite side length compared to the angle you're dealing with. So if there's angle A, here's the opposite side divided by the adjacent side length right there. And another way that this can be written is Soh Cah Toa, just with a more direct reference, a reminder to what you do with those side lengths. Sine is the ratio of the opposite side length divided by the hypotenuse. Cosine is the ratio of the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse, and tangent is the ratio of the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So, with that little refresher in general, now let's take a look at a scenario where we know two side lengths, but what's missing is our angle. So generically we'll call this unknown angle theta, and we have a right triangle. So let's say we happen to know this side length and this side length. So let's say this side length here is 5. This side length is 10. So if we take a look here, relative to this unknown angle that we're looking for, this is the opposite side. And this 10 is the hypotenuse. So if we go back to our Soh Cah Toa reminder, which trig function deals with that combination of the opposite side to an angle that we're focusing on and the hypotenuse? Well, out of Soh Cah Toa, that would be sine. Sine is the ratio of the opposite side length divided by the hypotenuse. So let's set that one up in this triangle here. So sine of some unknown angle theta will be the ratio of the opposite side length of that angle, which in this case is 5, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 10. Now, if you remember from previous videos, anytime you have a leg that is exactly half the hypotenuse on a right triangle, then this angle is going to end up being 30 degrees. So let's imagine we didn't know that though, and let's see how we can take care of this on the calculator. So what we're going to do here is you can take your smartphone, pull up your calculator feature, and when you turn it sideways, now what you can do is you can set up the ratio that we're dealing with. So in this case, 5 divided by 10, so do parentheses, 5 divided by 10, close parentheses, and that solves that for you as 0.5. Now obviously I picked a nice neat mental math one. You know that 5 divided by 10 is 0.5. You can just go right to that. But in most cases, you're not going to get a nice neat number. So you do the parentheses and then set up the division problem that is your ratio. And now that combination of this opposite side length divided by the hypotenuse, that's sine. So if you look on the calculator, you can see the sine button, but we don't want sine. We want the inverse of that. So you have to hit the second button, and as soon as I hit that, you'll see it changes the look of sine. It shows it as sine to the -1, which just means inverse sine. So now we hit that, and then lo and behold, what we already knew, it's a 30-degree angle. All right, Raiders, hopefully this helps you. If you have any questions, remember to contact your teachers using the Remind app or write an Odyssey where. Have a good day.